Hey everybody, I'm sitting on runway 18 at Lee Summit in terrible weather, and I'm having a blast because we're in a simulator, and we're going to go ahead and try to do something you should never, never do, and that is land below minimums and do an instrument approach. But a lot of my friends have been asking me, what does it look like when you do an instrument approach? How do you find the airport? What the heck? How do you do that? Well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you wrong, but you're going to have some fun looking out the front of this airplane. So, right now, this little pink arrow represents the airplane. We're sitting at KLXT. That's Lee Summit Municipal Airport. And we're facing south, which is in accordance with the runway number we see. 18 means 180 or 180 degrees, which any of you boaters or pilots or there are a lot of folks know is south on the compass. So we're headed 180 degrees, and that is about right. If we look at our GPS or directional gyroscope, we'll see down here that we're heading actually 182 degrees. That's fine because these are within the nearest 10 degrees. So it's a 180 because it's 182. If it was 185 or 6, it'd be 190, runway 19. So that's what that's about. Let's go ahead and get back a look. Enough about that. So we're facing south. We're going to take off to the south. And what we're going to do is it's called the RNAV GPS runway 36 approach. So we're going to head south, and we're going to get to this point called Wampo. Now, Wampo is a point at which we need to hold, and that is basically turn around. So when we get to Wampo, we're going to do what's called a teardrop entry. If you'll notice here, Wampo's turns are to the left, so they're counterclockwise. That means I have to get over here on this side to turn left to go back inbound. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to come in, we're going to hit Wampo, we're going to turn to the right, we're going to get on this course, in this area, and then we're going to turn back around and go inbound and do our landing and try to find our way to the runway 36, utilizing the instrumentation and devices in the airplane. Now, from the side, it looks like this. We'll be coming in from the south this way. We're going to turn around, and then we're going to be at 3,000 feet at Wampo. We're then going to descend to 2,600 feet by the time we get to Japes. At that point, we will intercept the glide path. Aircraft will then start flying itself down, or we will follow the glide path down to the runway. Now, we're allowed to go down to 1,306 feet because of the way we're equipped, which is 309 feet above the ground. I can tell you right now, at 309 feet, looking outside this airplane, you're not going to see anything. So we're going to have to keep going. You'll see some stuff. You'll see the ground and whatever. You won't see the runway, almost certainly. So we're going to come on back. We're going to continue going anyway, and just for fun, because we're in a simulator. And worst case is, I just get embarrassed on national, on YouTube and to my international audience. Anyway, I just embarrassed myself. But that's about it. But these rules are, I need 7/8 mile of visibility, and I need 309 feet to the base of the lowest cloud ceiling. So that's what I need to have to get in here and to legally land. I'm going to go ahead and land illegally. All right. So the approach having been briefed, I'll move the chart out of the way. Looking at the flight plan, this is what we have in here for a flight plan. Let's go ahead and click flight plan on here. I'm going to go direct to Wampo. We're going to do that hold that I talked about, the teardrop hold. Then we're going to go on to Japes. And once we get to Japes, we'll go to Jobad and then runway 36. Then we're going to, if I miss the approach, we're going to take off to Saxo. And that's another waypoint down the road. And we're going to hold at Saxo until such time as we get further directions for ATC and make some different decisions. So that's the flight plan. I'm going to go back to nav page. And then I go ahead and take off. It's showing me going to Wampo, initial approach fix, on a heading of 182 degrees. Look at that. That's where we are. That's our desired track. Our actual track right now is the same. Our bearing is the same. It's 182 degrees away from us. So we're in good shape. We got 12 miles to clean it all up. Down here, I want to get control of my instruments because I'm about to be in the soup and I'm going to be into R18 now. So I'm going to turn on my flight director. Flight director turns on these little pink bars here. The gold bars are the airplane. The pink bars are where the airplane should be in accordance to all the calculations by my navigator and autopilot. Right now we're set up for to look at the GPS. That's armed. But right now we are fixed for roll and pitch. Right now, if I was to turn on the autopilot, the aircraft would not turn. It would not go up or down from where it is sitting right now. If I turn, but I'm not going to turn on the autopilot. I'm going to leave the flight director here. First thing I want to do is set up the lateral. I'm going to set it to be heading. Now we're going to fly the flight director. Pink bars are going to ask me to continue flying the heading that I'm on. Whatever this blue, called a heading bug, is set for, then that's the heading that these pink bars are going to try to convince me to fly. Now we're going to do pitch. I'm just going to pitch up about 7 degrees or so. That'll be my pitch up attitude. What I really want to do is once I get pitched up to, a reasonable, let's get away from the ground attitude, I'll get the gear up, and then I'm going to look for 95 miles an hour, knots. And once I get to 95 knots, I'll go ahead and hit indicated airspeed and autopilot, and the aircraft will then start holding that 95 knots and the heading. Then I will switch over to nav, and then it will start flying based on the navigation equipment. So that's our plan. Let's see how it looks in actual execution. All right, stepped on the brakes. That should clear the emergency brake. I can do a full throttle. And we're going to release the brakes. Looking for airspeed to come alive. Once airspeed comes alive, we're going to want to see positive rate once we get off the ground. Once we see positive rate, we can pull the gear out, the airplane really starts flying, get in earnest at that point. All right, airspeed is alive. 57, we're looking for 75. 65. 70. 75. Let's pull the nose back a little bit. Starts to fly. It pulls itself up. I've got positive rate. Life is good. I want to fly into the pink arrows with my gold bars. That's all I want to do until such time as I reach 95 miles an hour. Right, just a little bit. That may just a little bit. Okay. Hit indicated airspeed. Be 94. We get autopilot. The autopilot is now flying heading. I've got autopilot on and indicated airspeed. I'm going to switch to nav. Now I'm flying on the GPS. The autopilot on, indicated airspeed of 94 knots, and drop that one click. Now I'm flying exactly how I want to be. I'm climbing at 95 knots on my way to 3,000 feet, my pre-selected altitude that I have chosen. Once I get to 3,000 feet, this airplane's going to level off and start moving. So we're just going to kind of watch it for a little while now. Let's take a look at our chart while we're waiting on this thing to get up to altitude. So here's the airplane. There's the summit behind us now. And this is the airplane flying out. We're about to go over Jobot and Japes and all that. All we're really going to be seeing, we're headed for, is Wampo. And we're 6.5 minutes away from Wampo, at least at the current speed. That's kind of what that tells us. That's me getting within 1,000 feet of my altitude that I've selected. So as we cross 2,000 feet, it gave me a 3,000 foot or 1,000 foot warning. So that's where we're at right now. Get another one here at about 2,800, telling us we're within 200 feet of our altitude. And a third one, it tells us we're on altitude. As you can see, or really can't see, there's nothing to see out there. So busting at altitude is a very bad thing. We'll get assigned that by air traffic control. We'll get assigned an altitude. We do not want to climb past that altitude. We do not, because there might be somebody else there. And they're not expecting us to go past it. And that's the reason for all the warnings, either up or down, is we get told to descend. You don't want to blow that altitude either. And you want to know if you leave the altitude you were assigned for any reason. So if I make the airplane leave its currently programmed altitude, then it's assuming that I've busted an altitude somewhere. It's going to warn me about that. So that's why all the alarms, notifications, just to make sure that we do everything safely as possible. All right, coming up on 2,800. There's our chime. So we're within 200 feet of our altitude now. 2,800 feet. Altitude selected is 3,000. Already within 200 feet of 60 feet of that. So we're already about ready to be there. Now the nose is dropping because the aircraft knows it needs to level off, and the speed is picking up like crazy. Now I'm going to reduce power, take us back, our manifold pressure back. That's over here, by the way, if you're not to look where the instruments are. So that's, I'm going to pull that back to about a little under 24 inches, and I'm going to pull the RPM back to 2,400. Call that 24 square. And by doing that, that's basically like when you take your car and you start out of the driveway or start down the road, you mash on the gas, it makes a lot of noise, smoke and dust and everything, and then it shifts gears. You'll notice my speed's actually going up. Even though I reduced the noise, the power in the engine, I reduced the RPM on the propeller, that just simply put it into a higher gear. The propeller's taking a bigger bite out of the air every time it goes around now. And so the speed's actually increasing, both because we leveled off and because we shifted gears. I got into a higher gear in the transmission. So that's how that works. In a fixed pitch propeller, reducing the RPM will reduce your speed. So that's a fact. Constant speed propeller, like we call these, or at a variable pitch, then your speed can actually increase if you reduce it. Okay, so we're now 3 minutes, 6.2 miles from Wampo. Once we get to Wampo, we're going to do that teardrop entry and do the holding pattern. It's not really a hold because we're just going to turn around. All we're going to do there. See? So you'll see. We'll have some fun. Right now we're running along about 120 knots at 3,000 feet. We're right on our heading. Engine instruments are fine. Life's looking good, and it looks like we're still on the path for our Wampo in 2 minutes and 32 seconds now. So, one other thing I wanted to look at, show you, is this nav page. So in this page of the navigator, what I need to do is clear that. This page of the navigator, here, with some stuff, we can see basically the same thing you're seeing in the chart. You see, here's the airplane flying, it's going south. There's north pointing that way. It's going south, just past Jobad. And if you look on the map, there's Japes. And there on the map, there we are going south toward that loop-de-loop, just past Japes. See, oops. Oh, the thing there, Buzzy. All right. So, I'll go back to my other nav page. I actually prefer this page because I know what my next waypoint is. I've got a chart that tells me the one after that. I want to know when I'm going to get here because there's some things that I may have to do. And I'm certainly expecting the aircraft to turn around and do its job properly. So I need to make sure that it does that because, after all, pilot. In briefing the approach, we might want to stay ahead of this. So I'm going to look at my profile again. I see that I want to intercept Wampo on the way back from this turn. I want to be at 3,000 feet. I want to then descend to 2,600 feet while I intercept the glide path with a decision altitude of 1,306 feet. So 3,000, 2,600, 1,306. I'm at 3,000, so I can go ahead and set my altimeter, or not my altimeter, but my autopilot selected altitude. I can go ahead and take that down to 2,600. You notice my alarm went off because it thinks that I'm not on that altitude, but I'm within a couple hundred feet of it, so it's getting a little nervous about that. But that's okay. So you notice the airplane hasn't changed. I'm still on GPS, and which means I'm following this magenta line. I'm still holding an altitude of 3,000 feet. That's it. Nothing's happened because I haven't told it how to get to this altitude yet. So once I make that decision over here in the altitude section of the autopilot or flight director, once I get that decision made for it, then it'll arm whatever I've said, and it will be ready to do it. So you'll see it's an Alt S, or altitude select, over here. Right now, I've just selected the altitude to try to stay ahead of the bird. But, all right, here comes my waypoint. I got 13 seconds. It's saying hold teardrop. Let's take a look at that other page again real quick, just for fun, so you can kind of see what that looks like. So that's us going to make a right turn, and we're going to head into that loop-de-loop holding pattern, and we're going to go across it and then start making left turns as appropriate for the hold direction that they've got. Normally you make right turns in a hold. I say normally. If not pointed out otherwise, then you will make right turns in the holding pattern. But in this case, they want left turns, so that's what we're going to do. And really stays sit there and hold that pattern. Interestingly, to me anyway, one of the things I have to check is to make sure that we're doing the right thing here. This magenta line is our inbound course that we're eventually going to get on. Course being the line that we draw across the ground. The current heading we're having is away from that, and this piece of that magenta line is the deviation from our inbound line on the ground. So that would be way behind us. And we can see that it is. It's way behind us. That's our inbound line on the ground. Saying it's way behind us and we're heading off this way. Now, soon, we're going to want to turn left and start making these left turns. And it should be any second now, actually. There it goes. Now we're starting to make a left turn. We're making that left turn at a fixed rate. If you look at the old steam gauge over here, you'll see that airplane is turning and it's in line with these lines. That's set up for a 2-minute turn. That is 360 degrees in 2 minutes. So up here, if you look at it, you see this pink bar down here at the bottom and this tick mark. If you go to that tick mark, you're doing a 2-minute or standard rate turn. So that's what we're doing right now, is a standard rate turn back to our inbound approach course, which, as we saw earlier on the chart, is 0801. That's where we want to be headed. You can see we're making this turn now. Yeah, you can see that line is still way ahead of our airplane. We're not on it yet. Just because we turn around and head north doesn't mean we'll be on the line. It'll be way off to the side. So it's going to stop turning here shortly and aim us at that line at about a 30-degree intercepting. Hello, make glare out of me. There we go. Now it's going to go back. A little bit sloppy, Mr. Autopilot. I'll take it. Okay, so there's our 30-degree intercept angle. You can see that line's coming closer and closer, and therefore we're going to start turning back now so that we can kind of intercept it clean. Don't want to overshoot it. We're going to slowly turn back as the line gets closer to us. And that should put us at Wampo at 3,000 feet. and ready to descend, or 3,000 feet, sorry, and ready to descend to our 2,600 feet in time to get to Japes. It's our next waypoint. I'm going to switch back to that other page. See the 16, 15 seconds, 14, 13. So we're watching. As we hit that waypoint, we'll go ahead and start our descent. Okay, now we're headed to Japes. Final approach fix. So, I've got 2,600 pre-selected. How do I get there? We're going to choose vertical speed, and then we'll nose down to 500 feet a minute, which is pretty standard rate of descent. I'm also going to pull the power back so we don't accelerate too much. And I'm going to take the propeller forward because we need maximum RPM when we land, or set when we land, in case we need to go around. We're going to want the lowest gear possible so we can just really, do the drag race out of there if I need to go around. So I'm going to head and set it up now. And also I want to keep below my gear speed so that when we do intercept the glide path, I'll be ready. So I am 5 miles from Japes, just where we're going to intercept the glide path. I need to be at 2,600 feet, and I've got about 100 feet to go. Once we get to that, to the 2,600 feet, that's a little charm or alarm telling me we're there. Once we get to the 2,600 feet, the aircraft will start to slow down again a little bit. I've got less power in it. We'll go ahead and increase the power just a little bit from there. So we'll go ahead and get to Japes. Once we get to Japes, I'm going to drop the gear and reduce the power considerably because we're going to be on our final approach and we'll be descending toward the airport. So right now we're just level at 2,600 and we've got about 4 miles to go before we'll intercept the glide path. Now we're going to know when we intercept the glide path because these pink dots right here are telling us where the glide path is. This one has pink dots up and down, so that tells me I'm below the glide path right now. It can go all the way down here, means I'm above the glide path. Right now I'm somewhere below the glide path. And down here, it's the same thing. Laterally, down here, we have that line that we talked about, where I was off to one side, ahead of it and all that. That line being centered up tells me I'm directly on my approach path. Up here, it's a dot, and it's telling me the same thing. I'm directly centered on my approach path. So I'm centered on the approach path, a little below glide slope. Let's look at that on the chart. I'm at about here. See, I'm about halfway between Wampo and Japes. About here. I'm at 2,600 feet. The glide path, if it was to continue up, would be way up here somewhere. Right? If I drew that line straight, glide path would be up here. So I am definitely below the glide path right now. When I get to Japes, I should be dead spot on, I should be centered, and then the airplane should start going ahead and descending by itself. The way I make it do that, right now it's holding altitude at 2,600 feet, and it will do that forever. The way I make it go down when it's time is I hit approach down here on the autopilot. Now I've armed the glide path. So we're going to hold this altitude until the glide path becomes centered. Once the glide path becomes centered, I'm going to start descending in here. To help it do that, I'm going to go ahead and drop the landing gear at that time. And then it'll slow down some more, and then I'll drop a notch of flaps. I'll also be pulling some of the power out as well to help with that. Now, nothing to do but wait another 30 seconds or so. You'll see that dot start to slowly descend now. It'll actually be descending more quickly than it has been. It's been descending all along. But now we're getting closer and closer and closer. So as our deviation gets less and less from glide path, this will accelerate down through the center. If we were hand flying, we would just definitely want to just follow that, basically follow that dot around. So we'd still continue flying the pink bars. If we didn't have that, we just followed the horizon and make sure that we stayed with that pink dot. So here it comes. It's coming down. We're almost centered up now. Same thing here. See, we're almost centered up. There, airplane started descending. So I'm going to drop the landing gear, keep it from accelerating too much. In fact, I wanted to decelerate, so I'm going to pull back to about 18 inches manifold pressure on my engine instruments. 17 and a half, that's good. Down here, I'm basically pulling back some throttle. We're now a minute and 12 from Jobad, which is our next fix. This is Jobad. Here, this is Jobad. We just outranged the range at which it alarms for altitude deviation. Which is fine. We got a couple hundred feet off altitude, so we got fended. That's all right. We know what did, and we know why. Getting slower now. I'm going to go ahead and drop a notch of flaps. Now that I'm slow enough to do that. This little F right here, I can barely see it. That little F was my flap speed bug. So now I knew I'm below flap speed, so I can go ahead and start dropping flaps. I'm going to drop 2 more notches of flaps. So I've got full flaps now. Gears down. I'm going to make sure the gear's down by taking a look at it. We've got 3 green. Look at our fuel selector. It's on the right tank. I'm going to put it on the left tank. And ready to go. "30 seconds to Jobad. Still no airport in sight. What was our altitude? Anybody remember? 1306. That's our decision altitude. See what we see at 1,300 feet. So we got about 800 to go here. 700. Now that we've intercepted the glide path, I'm going to go ahead and set up for our missed approach. Our missed approach is to be, let's bring that over here. Missed approach, we are going to climb to 3,000 feet, direct SOXO and hold. So I'll go ahead and set my altitude to 3,000 feet in preparation for a missed approach in case I was to miss this one. The weather's nasty. I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but it's raining now. Up there. Runway 36. We got 1 minute to go. We're 1.9 miles from the runway. I still don't see it. Flaps are all the way down. I'm going to reduce speed to 85 knots. At 9,500 feet. Almost. About 540. We're looking for 1306, I believe. Don't see the ground, don't see any lights, don't see anything. We're 1,400 feet now. Right through 1,400. Still don't see anything. On my approach speed, I'm on a stabilized approach. I'm on glide path, I'm laterally accurate. Life's good, power settings are nominal. I'm at 85 knots, so I'm ready to go. But we're about to reach decision altitude, and I don't see the runway. Starting to see the ground. I see trees. I see some boundary lights. I'm below decision altitude now. Now I'm at 1,200 feet, which is below even ILS minimums because I'm 200 feet above the ground right now. I still do not see the runway. Coming in close. Now I see the runway. Okay, so right about where I would have wanted to see it if I was on an ILS. I finally did see it. We're going to slow down a little bit more. There's the runway. Power back out. Nice gentle approach. Out. ground till it touches down gently. You know. And that's what it looks like when you can't see out the front of the airplane. Instruments will get you there. As long as you trust them. Don't trust them, you're in trouble, because there was no way to tell if you were upside down or right side up other than those instruments. You guys are aware of that. You saw out the windshield. There was nothing to see here. No ground, no horizon, no lights, nothing. It was completely dead. Hey, the next trip we're going to do a nighttime VFR, visual flight rules, over water. Just to kind of get an idea of what that looks like, because I've been asked that a lot by a lot of people. They say it's like flying inside a dark bowl. It is. In night flight, my dad always said night flying is instrument flying. If you don't really have a pretty good handle on your situational awareness using your instruments, you really shouldn't be out there at night without an instructor or a safety plan. So, just saying. All right, guys. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.